All right. We're going to talk about long division. We remember how to long divide numbers together. Just try to figure out how much 8 goes into our first digit. If it doesn't, look at the first two digits. It goes in 4 times. We then multiply these two together. We subtract. We bring down the next number. How many times does 8 go into 10? Once. Multiply 8 and 1 together. We get 8. Subtract. You got 2 left over. My thing just froze. It'll come back. There we go. Got 2 left over. Bring down the 5. How many times does 8 go into 5? 3 times. We get 24. Subtract. I end up with 1. 8 can't go into 1. This is what we call a remainder. I have 3,305 divided by 8 is 413 and 1/8. Or I could say 413 times 8 plus 1 equals 3,305. It's important to understand the remainder can be used in both situations. I'm going to focus on kind of this method here, but we're also going to write it as this. Okay? We're going to do that with polynomials. We first start by writing it out using long division. But then the process is the same. We try to figure out how many times does 2x go into 20x squared. Please discuss that with your neighbors. How many times does 2x go into 20x squared? Do we think 10? No. Close. 10x. 2x goes into 20x squared 10x times. So I'm going to write 10x there. And then I'm going to multiply the two together. 2x times 10x is 20x squared. And then I'm going to subtract. Now, I will advise you, especially when we start dividing by more than one thing, to add the opposite. Okay? Stay with me. The reason why, this should go away, that's great. That goes away, but if I had multiple things that we were subtracting, it would help us. Okay, so this is 0. What's the next thing I do? I bring down the next term, or the next number. I get negative 4x. How many times does 2x go into negative 4x? Negative 2. So now watch what I have. Up at the top when we did the long division, we had all the numbers next to each other. I'm not going to have all the terms next to each other. They're going to be separated by addition because these terms are separated by addition. Whereas the numbers, it's just one number after the other. Here, the addition means, okay, I need to add this next term. Now, I multiply negative 2 by 2x, I get negative 4x. When I subtract negative 4x, that's the same as adding positive 4x, I get 0. There's no remainder. What I'm telling you is that 20x squared minus 4x divided by 2x is 10x minus 2, or plus negative 2. To confirm that I'm correct, I could do 10x minus 2 times 2x. Okay, 2x times 10x minus 2. Will that give me 20x squared minus 4x? Yes. If I distributed, I would get the correct thing. This, my friends, is polynomial division. What would we say our answer was? Technically, our answer is 10x minus 2. But here's how we check. Our answer times our divisor should give us what we're dividing into. Again, they get more complicated because notice what we have here, not just one thing. Here's what we're going to do. Please pay attention. Focus on the biggest term. Don't worry about the 1 so much. The 1 will take care of itself. Focus on the biggest term. and focus on the biggest term. And I mean the biggest degree term. So the x beats the no x's. So if we focus on that, how many times does 3x go into 15x squared? 5x. Please write 5x here. Go with me here. Write it down. Now, in long division, what's the next step? Multiply this by this, right? Just like I multiplied 8 by 4 and I got 32. I'm going to multiply 5x by 3x plus 1. Do I just get 15x squared? No. I get 15x squared plus 5x. What's 5x times 3x plus 1? 15x squared plus 5x. Okay? Do we see that? It's just like long division. We multiply. Okay. Now, we will subtract that. This is where we need to be careful. Instead of subtracting, I always recommend adding the opposite. However, the opposite's going to be going to both of those terms because I'm subtracting like a polynomial. Now, 15x squared minus 15x squared, gone. That's 0. But 8x minus 5x, that's 3x. Bring down the next term, minus 12. How many times, and now we, again, start over. My biggest term and my biggest term. How many times does 3x go into 3x? Once. The other stuff is going to take care of itself. Include a plus 1, because we're talking about terms separated by addition. Multiply 1 by 3x plus 1. I get 3x plus 1. Then subtract, just like you would do long division. This is where you need to be careful. We're not just subtracting 3x, we're subtracting 3x plus 1. So make sure we subtract 3x and subtract 1. The 3x's are gone. Negative 12 plus negative 1 is negative 13. Does 3x go into 13? No. I'm done. My answer is 5x plus 1 and negative 13, 3x plus 1. It's not negative 13, 3x plus 1. It's like negative 13, 3x plus 1. Now, I don't like this answer. This answer doesn't make much sense because I'm not sure how I can check this answer. But watch what you can do. Take this, multiply it by this, and add this. 3x plus 1 times 5x plus 1. Go ahead and multiply those together for me. We just practiced this before our quiz. We should be able to do it. If you have space, do it on the back, please. Or if you have space, do it. Multiply 3x plus 1 and 5x plus 1. After you multiply those together for me. Multiply 3x plus 1 and 5x plus 1. Multiply 3x plus 1 and 5x plus 1. You missed a big part of this lesson. It's true. 18 18x squared? Where did 18 come from? 15. 3x times 5x is 15x squared. 3x times 1 is 3x. 1 times 5x is 5x. 1 times 1 is 1. I get 15x squared plus 8x plus 1. What happens if I subtract the remainder of 13? I get what I started with. That is a way that we can double check to make sure we got the correct answer. You take what you're dividing into by your answer, multiply those together, then add your remainder at the end. Boom. I got what I was started with. Okay? Great. Now, they get more difficult. This is a lot of terms going on here. And there's one thing we now have to notice. There are no x squareds. In our first situation when we were dividing, there were no 10s. Do we leave things blank if there are like no 10s? Like 3,305. We don't do 33 blank 5, right? We make sure there's a 0 there. Does that make sense? Like the 0 has to be there. The reason why I say that is because if we divide and we have something missing, we have to make sure we include a 0 for that missing term. So watch. I'm going to divide x minus 3 by x to the 4th minus 2x cubed. But I don't have any x squareds. I will write there are no x squareds. There are 3 x's and there's a 1. Okay? Everybody, make sure you write, notice there's 0x squareds, and then make sure you include a 0x squared. It must be done. Okay, converse with your neighbors. What do you think goes right here? Go. Converse. Everybody try. What do you think goes right there? Miss Abernathy, what do you think goes right there? X cubed is correct because all we worry about is the x and the x to the 4th. What's the next step, Miss Arbogast? Multiply x cubed by x minus 3. Okay. X cubed times x is x to the 4th. X cubed times negative 3 is negative 3x cubed. What do we do with these two things, Mr. Berneberg? Subtract. Mr. Black, what do I recommend doing besides subtracting? Add a what is the same as subtracting? Add the opposite. But make sure you do it with both terms. Now, when I add these, they're gone. Negative 2x cubed and a positive 3x cubed. I have 1x cubed left over. Bring down your next term. In this situation, it's a 0x squared. Everybody converse with your neighbors. What goes next? Mr. Garcia, what do you think? Yes, because x squared times x gives us x cubed. X squared times x is x cubed. X squared times negative 3 is negative 3x squared. Subtract this. What do I recommend doing, Miss Brown, except for besides subtraction? Adding the opposite. So this becomes plus a negative. This becomes a positive. The x cubes are gone. This turns into positive 3x squareds. Bring the next term down. What do we think goes here? X is not correct. Three X is correct because 3x's times x will give us 3x squared. When we subtract those are going to be gone. 3x times negative 3 is negative 9x. Subtract these. That's plus a negative. This turns into plus a positive. This turns into 12x. Bring down the 1. What's the last thing, Mr. Clark, that goes up there? What goes up here? 12. Because 12 times x minus 3 gives me 12x. But the 12 times the negative 3 is negative 36. Gross. But don't worry. If you're doing everything correct, we can check to see if our answer is correct. I get a remainder of 37. My answer is this plus 37 x minus 3. Don't worry. It's even more fun when you're dividing multiple things by 3 things. We will practice this ad nauseum before our next quiz. So everybody, please at least copy down the key. Copy down the key of the homework before showing up so you can see how things are done. But we need to practice, okay? Obviously.